Medical research is a very important component of medicine, and recently we've had a promising discovery of a potential cure for a disease called Huntington's during a clinical trial in the UK. So what is Huntington's disease? Huntington's is a rare neurodegenerative disease that causes deterioration of brain function over time. It is a kind of a disease that is inherited from the parent to the child, and since it is an autosomal dominant kind of a trait, there's a 50% chance of getting children with Huntington's disease. So, what happens? In the protein called Huntington on chromosome 4, there's normally an overextension of nucleotides. If you remember your science at some point back, there are normally nucleotides that form up the DNA. We have the C's, the G's, and the A's. And in this Huntington protein, the repetition we have is CAG. For a normal person, there are normally 10 to 35 repetitions. Those are normal. But when you go beyond 36 repetitions, then you get Huntington's disease. So what happens when you have these extra repetitions is that the tail of this protein becomes long, starts to clamp up, and this kind of setup, or rather this, whatever it is that is formed, is poisonous to brain cells, such that when it is deposited in the brain cells, these brain cells begin to die off slowly. And as a result, the brain function is lost over time. Cognitive, movement, mood, all start going downhill. So both genders, male and female, are affected equally. So there's kind of no discrimination. And there's something called genetic anticipation when it comes to passing down this trait to children. As I've said, this disease is inherited from parent to offspring. And during reproduction, there's a possibility of this CAG extra repeats over repeating themselves, making the repeats more. So the more the repeats that are passed down to the child, the more likely the disease is to show early. Because ideally, this disease normally shows up between 30 to 40 years. But then when you have a kind of an inheritance whereby the repeats are from 36 to 39, there might be very little penetrance. So there's a chance that these children will show Huntington's symptoms. When the repeats are more than 40, we definitely are going to get Huntington's symptoms. When the repeats are more than 60, we are going to get Huntington's, and on top of that, you're going to get it earlier in age. So you'll find a child in their 20s or late teens showing the symptoms of Huntington's disease. As it is a pretty much devastating disease, which is normally, let me say, palliatively managed once the symptoms show up. But being that people are making efforts to see whether we can do some genetic engineering and maybe reverse this whole situation, is a very, very promising discovery.